You took her to see Coldplay.
And she enjoyed it more than I did.
Oh, wow. I'm saying, if you're the wife or the husband of that person who has a relationship, please don't discourage them from having relationship with that child.
That was part of talking about the elephant in the room. Because that elephant in the room is there.
And just the regular grind, let me call it like that, of bringing up children can kill the joy of just doing stuff together.
I would never say anything bad about her mom, and she's never heard me say anything bad.
Long time ago.
Emotionally, mentally, very true. They're just there. It's their shells that cohabit. The impact it had on her, I honestly did not realize that it was that deep, but it was very, very deep. Yewande,
Babashola,
how are you?
I'm good. Good.
Our topic today is preparations for life after children.
Preparation for life after children. And be mindful of the fact that not everybody.
I was just about to say that. Exactly. So we have to.
Okay, let's finish it then. Not everybody
has a child.
Yes, or children.
Or children. Yeah. Not everybody. So we have to bear that in mind.
Yeah.
Because this podcast is for everyone. It's not for only those that have children, or only those that are in a relationship, and some that are out of a relationship and looking to get into a relationship.
Yeah.
And some that have children, and some that don't. So, for this topic,
and it could be that you've also been looking after children that aren't your biological ones.
Precisely.
Yeah, and that's very common in our cultural context where we've been sent to stay with one uncle and auntie. Yeah. I've always remembered that our house was always full, and they were not all my mom's biological children, but there were always children around. Yeah. But there come a time where they're all grown. Yeah. And I'm in that scenario right now. My sons, all our children are grown, and we have to face ourselves. Your partner and yourself. Are you in a relationship where all the children used to maybe live with you and now they don't anymore? What's the dynamics in your relationship? How is that impacting your relationship?
Yeah, so what steps are you taking to prepare for life without a child?
I started a long time ago.
Okay.
Partly because I had a divorce. So that was my reality check. Because everything changed. Everything changed. We became, from having a nuclear type of setup, mom, dad, children, I found myself on my own, because when my separation happened, my ex-husband went with my son. So I was on my own. So I realized that, at one point I was actually homeless.
How did that feel?
It was a reality check that this is my new reality. This is potentially my new reality.
So how were you able to navigate that situation? How are you able to get out of then to becoming now, and then to now?
I think the first thing in any situation where you're used to a big family thing is you need to review your future. You need to review. At that time, I was too depressed to be.
Did you know you were depressed?
At the time, I didn't. I knew I was depressed when I couldn't physically get out and do my normal things. And I've heard people say when their children left home that they became depressed. They became like a recluse. They didn't want to do anything anymore. They didn't want to go out. So I'm not saying it's like a divorce, but in a funny sort of way, there are similar potential feelings. You understand? Because you're no longer with the people you are used to. For example, you have 3 children at home. They're grown-ups. You and your wife. you're about to lose one to marriage.
Yeah. And I have, the first one hasn't lived with me for God knows how many years, decades.
Mm.
Um, life is lived in circles.
Mm-hmm.
Couples come together, no children.
Mm-hmm.
They then have children, bring up children, and then one by one the children begin to leave home, and then they become alone. But you have to remember that when they came together, they were not alone then.
Yes, but sometimes, depending on how, like you rightly said, life is a cycle. You might find that when couples first get together, maximum, unless there are reasons why they're not having children, most couples, certainly in our own cultural context, they have children within the first 3 years. And then they have maybe 20, 25, even 30 years of having children and family life. Before now, no more children. Now, the time after that, no more children, could be another 10 years, which is a big shock to the system. Like you said, it's in cycle. So the first time when they didn't have children, they were younger, they were fitter, so much, and it was a shorter period of time. Then the latter part, when the children leave home, it could be another 10 years together with no children. So it's like thinking about it, and we're all at that age now where we need to think about that.
Of course.
And if you're single, maybe you are widowed. That's another thing.
It's another dynamics completely.
You are widowed. How do you pick yourself back into doing something? And this is where we would, we've talked about having hobbies, having something that you've begun to nurture even before your children leave home. If you have any children, you have to have something that brings joy to you, that involves maybe friends. So relationships doesn't even have to be a husband and wife or a partner. Relationships, full stop, are important. The kind of work we're doing, when people retire, that's another. They say, I'm looking forward to retirement. I always say, to do what? What are you going to do when you are retired?
That's a topic on its own.
What is retirement? Retirement, let us know your thoughts. What is retirement?
What are you retiring from?
What are you retiring from? Sometimes people are genuinely in occupations that they hate. If you're in that scenario, please get out as soon as possible. Because that's going to age you. By the time you come out of that scenario, there won't be. And they'll say, oh, I'm doing it for the money. Well, your health and well-being might not be able to sustain you for that length of time that you're in a work that you absolutely... It's actually limiting your health.
Basically compromising your health. Yeah.
And you find people say, when the children left home, when I got retired, I felt sick. So this depression is real when you have broken up from a family life. It needs to be prepared for.
I mean, my daughter is getting married, and she's, she's going to leave home. So the dynamics will change. But my comfort is that, when she's starting a new life, I almost use the word veto. The husband. But the husband is, husband to be is a pleasant guy who made my daughter happy. And thankfully, they're still within the United Kingdom, so we can always, FaceTime, and so that.
How is that? How are you feeling about that? Because I can see your body language is like you're not 100% comfortable, but you have to let it go.
Well, I have to let it go because you know what, I've thought about it, and I just, it takes me back to when I left home. And
like you said, life is in cycles.
Life is in cycles. I left, and okay. My wife says that when I have too many thoughts, I just so let me just take it bit by bit, because the other thoughts that are coming through me now. When I have to remind my children that enjoy the moment, Because when one person leaves, it changes. You know, at home, when I was growing up, we were five. You know, my sister left, my younger sister left for United Kingdom. I didn't join her, you know, and then we were six, you know, and then, you know, and they became four, my brother and my sister plus my parents, you know, and then my younger brother left, and then they became three. Okay. So we did not meet for a long time.
And how do you think your parents were feeling?
That is exactly, you know, I'm my comfort. What suits me, or what is comfortable to me, or what comforts me is that my daughters are in the United Kingdom, so I can always go and meet them. I left Nigeria. So it's not as if I can go to Nigeria weekend and come back.
And I'm sure you didn't give a thought about how your parents felt. So children, remember your parents. We're now getting to that age, where we want our children to remember us.
At that point in time, I miss them, but you know, 20, 23, 24, we were like
full of energy,
you know, after uni, and there were loads of us. It was that period when so many people left Nigeria, so many youngsters left Nigeria. So it was like it was buzzing. We were always in and out of each other's council flats at that time, you know. And then people
social housing for some of you that want when we got over here, and that was an opportunity because quite a few of us were born here, but our parents, you know, they came over to study, didn't they? They had the children, and when they finished their studies, they took us all back. Yes. But because we were born here, we had the opportunity to be able to come back later.
So
here in the United Kingdom.
So I imagine how they felt, because I was very close to my parents. It was a very, very tight, just as my family was very tight. So my daughter living, she's still in UK, and we will support her. So I'm not as, you know, emotionally raw as I presume my parents were at the time.
So are you a parent that your children have left home? How do you feel about it? Let's know your thoughts, because my son is no longer at home. As soon as he went for uni, that was it. He never came back. And one of the ways I've consoled myself is I have a lodger, you know, and obviously I have my husband in my other home, and my work is very social, community, and this kind of things. So that's how I deal with it. And I have a hobby, you know, and which involves me traveling sometimes. And so how are you and your wife beginning to prepare? Because you said one is gone, you have two left. And did your parents also ever talk about how they felt about you guys leaving? It might be interesting to ask them, are they still alive?
They've passed on.
Oh, okay.
They've passed on.
So how are you preparing, you and your wife?
We would.
Have you discussed it?
We incidentally a couple of days ago,
Good. That's another point. Begin to discuss it, because our children will not be home forever. And in our cultural context, children don't necessarily leave home at 18. They stay at home until they're ready to leave. And in this day and age, it's very hard to get started.
Yes.
So on the, you know, career, you know, path, then maybe acquiring a property is also much more expensive now.
So we have talked about it, you know, briefly, and we'll talk more about it. But we intend to, for instance, on my part, even without having to discuss this one on informal, I have to get her more to you know, she loves to work, so I have to work. You know, as soon as she gets up, let me get up as well. So that's an opportunity. She does it religiously. So I really, really admire her for that. So I have to do that. So that would be my excuse of catching up with her. And the other thing again that we plan to do is every month, or we'll be alternating it. You know, we have a treat. Each one prepares a treat. It could be a restaurant, it could be a weekend.
Okay, so it's up to one. That sounds exciting. So whatever, so whatever one person plans, the other one will just join them.
I mean, for instance, when I bought tickets to go to Wimbledon, she thoroughly enjoyed it. She didn't think she would enjoy it.
Yes, because that was her sharing of your hobby.
Yeah, exactly. My wife again is sometimes she even enjoys occasions more than I do.
Yeah,
she just needs to know that okay, this is an outing.
Yeah,
and then she.
And I love the element of surprise. Not knowing what the other person is planning.
Exactly. The other time again was when I said, next week we are going to the concert to see Coldplay.
Oh, you got one of the Coldplay concert?
No, not this.
Oh, I was going to say, how did you do that?
This was difficult. But the last one, at Wembley.
Oh, and Wembley is a big stadium for those of us international. And Coldplay,
it's massive. Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, can you tell them who Coldplay is?
It's just one of the biggest, rock bands in the world. And I'm into music, so.
You took her to see Coldplay,
and she enjoyed it more than I did.
Oh wow! Now that is something. Begin to think again about maybe the things you used to do when you first got together, because oftentimes the burden and let me not call it burden because children are a blessing, right? The cares of taking care of family and just the regular grind, let me call it like that, of bringing up children can kill the joy of just doing stuff together. So it's an opportunity to rekindle your love as it was before you had children.
It's so important. I mean, surprised that taken her to watch to athletics, one of the Grand Prix, at the Olympic Stadium. That again, she thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm going to do more of that. And she has her ideas as well, which I have to be open to and enjoy.
Yes. And I recall how you told me one time that the thing that stresses you out sometimes about your wife's walking is that she maps out a route. And I'm saying, what's your own? Just follow. Be more like your wife when you plan something. She would just, I said, why are you worrying? She's the one planning routes. And maybe she's the regular walker. So she wants to see different scenery.
She does.
She just follow.
In my head, I just want to go and come back and visualize it. Because I'm more of a visualization person. I visualize things, if, for instance, we plan to go to a party, which I rarely do. I'm not really a party person. But we go to a party, in my head, I already visualize the time we're going to get there and the time we're going to get there.
I wonder if it's a man-woman thing. Men, generally speaking, are logical. You go there, you pick this thing. It's like sending my husband to the shop to buy me. Yes. I have to take a picture and I tell him, zoom in, make sure, don't buy the one that is similar. He'll still come back with not exactly. I said, but do you see? He said, he didn't notice that level of detail.
So, but what am I saying? I need to be intentional to relax more and just to roll with her.
Yes. And also, which is a really good point. Also, that preparation involves not encroaching on your children's new life.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes, in our own lack of preparation for this next stage of our lives, we now pack our bag and baggages. It's usually the women. Sorry, ladies, I have to say as it is. We'll say we're going to help them with the baby, which is a very good thing. But often we overstay our welcome.
Oh,
Please.
Please. It's not healthy.
1 year, 2 years later. But really, you're running away from this new stage of you and your husband's life. Because you can't face the reality of the fact that it's just you and your husband. And I know for some couples, they've actually checked out of that marriage long time ago.
Emotionally, mentally, very true. They're just there. It's their shells that cohabit.
And so this is an opportunity for them to face what they have left. Some of them, the marriage has been in trouble for a long time and they've stayed because of the children. Let's not be hasty to just abandon the marriage, because I hear a lot of people, I hear about it that after the children leave the home, the parents divorce, which is very sad because they realize that there's nothing left. They've been waiting for the children to go. But that kind of lack of communication, do you think is impacting on the children?
Of course it would impact on the children. The children see everything. And sometimes the children, it could be the tendency is for the guys to stay even at home just to make sure that their parents are still together unconsciously. Unconsciously.
Wow.
So it's sometimes I look back and I still do, because I'm a divorcee, and the impact it had on my child. Now that we are developing, a relationship, and I thank God for it.
And this is your daughter from your first marriage.
Yeah, from my first marriage. Mm-hmm. The impact it had on her. I honestly did not realize that it was that deep, but it was very, very deep.
Is that something you've spoken to her about?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's really good.
Oh yeah, and sometimes we still, there was which is yet to release, and I'm sure you won't mind me saying it. We spoke about divorce on this podcast. We are going to release it very soon. I had to share with her before it was released to the public, to see how if it's something that, because the relationship is improving on a daily basis, and I didn't want anything that would impact
negatively on that.
And she confessed that she found it a difficult watch, but she appreciated that I showed it to her, and that was part of.
That's really good.
That was part of talking about the elephant in the room. Because that elephant in the room is there. Personally, I don't like talking about the past. So it was something very, very difficult for me, and because I know it will help her, I had to talk about it. I just like, mine is just, I learned from the past, and then I just stay focused on where I'm headed. But for her, she needed to deal with it. She needed.
Oh yes.
She has 1,000,001 questions, and you see, and I like to put it on record as well, that when you have a good wife is, when a man had been involved in a relationship, and that relationship didn't go well, and the involvement of your current wife, because my wife, for instance, she was ever so supportive.
And that is very important. Just to put it out there, Babashola, that if you have children from a previous relationship and you are in a new relationship, I'm saying, if you're the wife or the husband of that person who has a relationship, please don't discourage them from having relationship with that child from that previous relationship, because it's not their fault. It's not the children's fault. I applaud your wife.
Sometimes she tells me, no, it was wrong to have said that. No, you need to be patient. My daughter says that if I was in my daughter's position, that's my daughter that,
from the previous relationship.
No, from my current.
Oh, from your current one.
Yeah.
Okay.
She tells me that I totally understand, that she totally understands what she was going through. That if she was in that situation, she would also have these emotions. So they all encourage. I mean, the boys just listen.
And they're learning, your boys.
Yeah.
So, Babashola, just tell us, how many boys and girls have you got?
I've got 2 boys and 2 girls.
Okay. Yeah. So one girl is from your first marriage, and then you have another girl and 2 boys from your current marriage, and that's the second girl that's now getting married.
Yes.
Just kind of just for those that will be listening to kind of get the dynamics of what we're talking about.
And thankfully,
so the boys are listening, because they're going to be fathers one day, And our prayer is that they get it right the first time. And hopefully, you sharing and talking about it, they're learning that, okay, our dad made me some errors and we're learning from him.
And you said errors, and of course errors, and there's errors on both sides, because I will never point accusing fingers at my previous, partner. Would never do that. And
as they say, it takes two to tango.
It takes two to tango, definitely. And and I always tell my daughter, my first daughter, that I would never say anything bad about her mom, and she's never heard me say anything bad.
In fact, you've said that her mom is very instrumental in her life because she's also married and she has a baby, and you're a granddad.
I'm a granddad, yeah, definitely. So it's I don't know, it's just incredible. So what we are saying is, and what I'm trying to say is, you may have gone through so many things. Your experiences will benefit you eventually.
Yes, but you have to also be open to deal with things that have happened in the past. When I was listening to you, you said it, usually you like the past to be the past. But for those children, the past is so important because it's stopping them from moving forward.
Definitely.
Because a lot of times children think it's their fault why their parents are not talking to each other in the house. And so for those of you that have stayed together for the sake of the children are not fools. They can feel the tension.
And they know what's happening.
They know what is happening. It's better to even look at ways of dealing with it. Once they're adult children, just like you, there's nothing shameful or wrong with actually involving them in the discussion of why you both are sour-faced sometimes, because they're learning. Because unconsciously, if they have that, what I call silent treatment that goes on between couples, that is what they've learned. It becomes learned behavior. When they get in their relationship and they're not happy with things, they won't deal with it. They will just repeat it that, well, this is how we see our parents dealing with things. So it's best to bring it in the open. And if it's happened, it's happened. No judgment on it. However, you and your partner, once the children have left, that's another opportunity. Even if you decide that we're going our separate ways, still try and deal with why you are going your separate ways, because that would help the way that you relate to your children, even in their marriage, how you counsel them, even in their marriage. I'm so happy for you, Babashola, because you've managed to find a way of having a relationship with your first daughter that you were estranged from for how many years?
Oh yeah, almost 3 decades.
Almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Now you have a relationship with her. You have a relationship with her mother.
Oh yes.
Who you all have a relationship as a blended family.
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
In fact, relationship is everything.
It is.
And just because you are no longer having the children at home doesn't mean you can't have a good relationship. And more importantly, let's have your own scenario in the chat. And so that we can all learn from each other, because we know that these are taboo in our culture. People have come up to me and say, I really admire the way you and Babashola open your dirty linen in public. I said that it's not that deep. We're just wanting other people to find a way of having better relationships.
And if whatever we say you is able to help you, you're able to ponder, you're able to think about it and move in the right direction, then we've done our bit.
We've done well. I'm loving being in a blended family situation. As you know, my husband has 4 children and I have 1, and we're a blended family as well. We have family get-togethers. We're intentional. My husband, as you know, is a very good cook. As soon as we say to our adult children, the barbecue is at Dad's, they are putting in their order with their families to come and spend that time with us. But seriously, if you don't have any children and you desire to be in a family kind of setup where these things are discussed. Don't make yourself a stranger. You have you have friends who have family.
Yeah.
I don't think I always say that there's no marriage in heaven. So we're all learning how to operate with relationships. I call it relationship management, as you know.
Yes.
So have quality friends. Have people who can tell you you are not doing well, and give people permission to do that.
Of course.
And husbands and wives, once the children are gone, don't be strangers. If you've been strangers and just waiting for the children to leave, I think that's an opportunity to now talk about what it is that has made you both estranged from each other for years.
The relationship can be saved.
It can be saved. And if you feel it cannot, that's it. If you feel you can bring someone else in to look at it, it's still helpful, because you don't want to start what I call a generational trend. I don't want to call it a curse. A generational trend, because these things can be passed down without your intending to, because your children will be modeled what they've seen you doing.
Agreed. Yeah.
Well, that's how much we can say for now. Let's have your thoughts, your opinions, and if this has triggered anything that you want to discuss further.
We'll be happy to.
Yes, and let us know in the chat if you want us to discuss more.
If you have ideas for topics as well, you want us to talk about, please do put it down in the chat box and take them on. Thank you so much for.
Thanks for watching.
Passing by and watching us.
Thanks for your comments in advance. Do you like?
Subscribe, share.
Share.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Well done.